All right, Nevin Bolla is back on the podcast. Aftermath is the short film that we'll be talking about. But I want to talk to you about because we just showed your film, your comedy film, at the Carlton Cinemas a few weeks ago, and people loved it. So
Yeah.
this is a far cry from the comedy that you did.
Yeah, it's 180 on that one. Yeah, I was very happy with War Couples. That was a very skeleton crew, and the idea that we put into that and just getting the feedback from individuals, especially having a premiere in that zone, it was just a great honor.
So because it's a different type of comedy where I think we showed it. I think I programmed in second. So we did
Yeah.
like the second film of the night. So it's always interesting about programming comedies. And then we had like this kind of late, like outrageous comedy, the first one. And then your film is like has like a twist, right? So people are like, "Oh, what are we watching? We're watching this war film." And all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah.
and the comedy sneaks up on people, and then they're just laughing so much because they're not expecting the comedy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think when we talked about it last time
Yeah.
on that podcast was just the idea of having the way it was written was, we always hear this genetic action, a tense moment, and then the idea is, so what if we do kind of like you have that type of environment, but you have the most untrained soldiers in the world who go and face this type of thing. So it was fun. I mean, for a 3 minute short, I really think it pulled off the comedy aspect, especially when you're under that time constraint for shooting something like that under 3 minutes and still get a laugh. That's a big win.
All right, well, let's talk about aftermath. So you're the star in the film, which is, you're doing some action sequences, you're directing it, you wrote it. Tell me about this idea for this particular film, where you
Ye-
came up with it.
Yeah, so the way I came up with this idea was I was trying to look for something because I wanted to do a little more of some stunt coordination work. And one thing that kind of drawn to me was this type of fight choreography because I was originally trying to find essentially make a teaser layout for actually making this into a 12-part miniseries. So when I made Aftermath, that was the goal set, and that's something that we're always transitioning to do. And when that came into play, it was we want to integrate an area where you have the ability to get encompass of this world while also have some type of fighting integration with it. And obviously, my co-star, Nikki Haru, she's actually a professional fighter as well. So as well, I'm not one, but she is a professional fighter and she did her job really well. And so I think when you have that type of experience and that stunt coordination work, you have the ability to make some type of story within it. And that's actually where Aftermath this came to be at the end.
Well, it's a fantastic job, and I'm fortunate enough to see a lot of like action or kind of like stunt short films, as I would say. And yours is like on top of the charts. I'm not just saying that; it's pretty fantastic the way
Yeah,
you.
it is it's a lot of I mean, obviously when you're shooting it and during the actually on set, it's always fun. But I think really the magic comes in the editing with that, especially your how you edit fight scenes and that
Yeah.
structure. It's just everything is such a microscope. You have to make sure that everything's kind of hit on point. You also have to figure out, even just the slightest movements, if you don't hit it correctly or get that time layout right, everyone who watches this can just notice right away. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you're watching a film, you could when you see something visually, you could kind of merge together. It might be a little light, might be a little dark, but if sound, for example, if something's off just a little bit, we're able to analyze it right away and it kind of tunes people off. So, um, yeah, it was fun doing it, but I will say the most irritating part was the editing part. But I'm glad it went out well, and that's all that matters at the end. So I was very happy with that then.
And also the story is grounded in I know it's like a sci-fi, but it's grounded in reality. What I mean is that you're watching, like, say you're watching Fast and the Furious, and they're like Vin Diesel's punching out 10 people. It's like, in a
Yeah.
way, you're having fun with the film. You're not taking it seriously, but you're this fight scene, you're taking this is do or die, literally, in the way that you set the tone of the film. So one, like you said before, like one false moment takes the viewer out of the story because you set the tone of like this is real life. This is really happening. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, I mean, at least with any type of sci-fi special effects, I mean, Fast and Furious, I mean, the expectations are so high in regards to if you want to create something like that, you gotta either have the funding to actually make something that big, or you need to find a way to trick it and ground it down to more simpler layout. And this is something that we did with Aftermath, where we're like, how can we still create that charm of this post-apocalyptic world and still have this intensity coming in while also simplifying it down? That's something that we can manually do while putting, millions of dollars into something like that, which obviously we didn't have the funding for. So by having it in a simpler layout and making it more of a character-driven structure, we felt that was more, it basically was impactful just as, Vin Diesel, knocking down like 10 people at once. And again, you're right. It's like, when you're watching that, it's like you're there for fun.
Yeah.
When I make like shorts like this, my main goal is always character driven, just because if you have more fun, you have more ability to build on a story. So that's why I try to put two characters on the complete opposites. And as well, the way I when I wrote Aftermath was I wanted to make sure that people, when you watch it, you can have a full spectrum of what that story in that area is, but still have questions about the world itself.
Mm.
And that is something that I wanted to put emphasis on, because if you're able to bring more questions in, it brings more intrigue in. And that's something that I think we did a really good job just on how the layout and the process was for that.
Because yeah, you keep going back to that shot where like someone's watching them.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the bird. Yeah.
We want to, again, it's because obviously, well, one reason is where we're shooting at was the middle of nowhere, and it was in July, and
Ooh.
so you had, yeah, middle of July. It
Southern
was,
California.
yeah, it was in Southern California.
Hot.
It was actually on July 5th. So, we the whole thing started at maybe like 3 in the morning, and it just we were there obviously a couple days prior, but the main shooting and the fight choreography happened on July 5th. It was hot, sticky, and we were covered. I remember, so like a little behind the scenes thing is that we actually for the sweat type of feeling to get that reflection. There are some products out there that create that illusion, but we actually ran out of it, so we had to resort to coconut oil, which even though you smell really cool, really great, it just attracts flies like no tomorrow. But so it was a very it was fun. I will say it was a great experience because not a lot of times you get that opportunity, and especially that environment where you're in this really abandoned area, and really the environment does bring an impact for both me and my co-star Nikki for having those character moments, especially those fight choreography scenes. But yeah, the idea of building on a bigger world was something that I wanted to put an emphasis on, which I believe did a really good job. Just the drones and the sound effects and the structure. So I was very happy
Way
with
it's
it.
shot too. Like it's a really fantastic, like nice, like look. They could this grainy, or I don't even know how to describe it. Like it could go wrong. I'm sure you could kind of tinkered it in post production, but it's a really nicely shot film.
That's a big help for our director of photographer, Sam.
Yeah.
The way he helped film that. I mean, I did all the when we got it filmed, I kind of put the graining effect and editing and post production. But obviously, him having the camera angles for be able to shoot it in the correct way and the style that we were after was always a huge help, because obviously, when you're acting and you're doing that directing, eventually you get, especially after the fight choreography, you get kind of mentally tired with that,
Yeah.
and you still have the ability that, you got to make the angles. And Sam was absolutely phenomenal in kind of taking in when my energy was kind of getting low. He kind of was kind of keep pushing up on that one. So yeah, in regards to that grainy effect, that was a big help with Sam. But yeah, post-production, that was something that I put a lot of time into it to make sure we got that effect, that people can have that feeling that this is a very apocalyptic world, that people are just trying to survive. And yeah, I'm glad it turned out really well, and it was just a great team and a great structure that we were able to do.
And correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of it's most of the shots are handheld too, right?
Yep. Yeah. All of them actually are handled.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a couple of them aren't stable, but so another prop for Sam for that one.
So
Yeah, it took time for that.
you did the camera operating too.
No, Sam did. Only sometimes it helped, but mainly Sam, our director photographer.
That's what I meant. Like the DP did the camera operating as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was, again, because when we're in the middle of nowhere, you're kind of limited on opportunities, like, if you're an indoor shoot, because you have tables, you have places, when you look on the ground, there's broken glass, there are potential rattlesnakes. I mean, when we were walking in there, we saw a dead tarantula. So we just, there's and not to mention a couple times we had this beehive, not bee, but like a swarm of bees just keep moving left and right around us. So we were always on edge. And more importantly was like, you got to be careful where you put your stuff down. So everything that we provided, everyone was hands on, especially when we were shooting those close up shots. Everyone took turns to be able to make sure to affiliate it. Again, you have this great environment. You have to be able to know what can you bring, what can you not bring,
Yeah.
especially in the beginning of July. It's wildland over there, so you have to be smart on what to bring and not make it a hassle because obviously when you bring more stuff, you're more prone to breaking it and obviously batteries and all that structure. But case in point, at the end of it, everything, there was no issues we found. We planned everything out from start to finish. And, we went there. Obviously, we were scouting days before, weeks before as well. So everything was kind of game planned to this moment. But when you have a great team, you know, it kind of kicks it pretty
So
well.
where is this infamous location?
It's up in Southern California around Simi Valley, maybe actually a little more up to Santa Barbara. It's a place called Scary Dairy. It's an abandoned farm. It used to be a farm in California and it was abandoned long ago. And inside that area where we were at, we actually was at the abandoned farm. It was completely destroyed, but there are also abandoned buildings, and we were thinking shooting those, but obviously when you get those close we don't have you don't have much flexibility with camera. And
Mm,
again, when you get into the abandoned buildings you get creepy crawlers everywhere, and especially when we're doing these fight scenes we don't want to have some spider jump on us or anything like that.
yeah.
No snakes. So yeah, it was pretty hot. It was pretty brutal, especially in the middle of summer. But I think it brought a lot of that environment into life when we're doing those type of scenes, because it is important to, especially when you're doing those type of stories, if you have the environment for it, it just makes everything better. Because if you're doing like apocalyptic world in your bedroom or your living room, I mean, it's like no one's
Yeah.
really fall for that. So yeah, a couple of weeks of hard days worth of shoot, but we got it.
So how does it work? You're in every scene, basically, even when the camera's focused on her. In a lot of scenes, the edge of you is there, so you're like basically in every scene. So how are you directing this film? Like, I'm sure you're very
It's a
prepared.
lot of pre-production,
Yeah.
storyboard layout, everything how I constructed a storyboard layout, how we shoot it, what angles we shoot it. So when we get there, it's not kind of like, okay, let's just try this style and this style. It's more, okay, here's the game plan. We had a simple data Excel sheet of, okay, this shot, we're shooting from this line to this line and this angle. So everything's really organized. When you're making these type of shorts, you have to be almost incredibly detailed organized. You don't have the ability to flex around because you just don't have time.
Yeah.
And if you don't have to, and not only that, but you're prone to miss things in shoots if you do kind of just go winging it, or maybe you have maybe just a simple storyboard. So a lot of pre-production work, and I emphasize a lot of it went into it, especially when you're going to places outside area where everything's battery powered. There's no air conditioning structures. There's no safe zone. So we had to make sure that every shot count every time. So we had to go to this one, this one, this one. And
So you did
so
you
yeah,
storyboard things or did you
yep.
story? Yeah. Yeah.
All of it storyboard by me. Made sure everything down to every line, what shot we're gonna be, what line we're gonna say it in that shot, and when it's gonna end. And then I could go and post-production do the editing, which I did that as well. So
Are you
yeah,
looking at the monitor after every take, or because you want to check make sure the performances are there,
yeah,
right?
we did that maybe around I think 75% to it. So maybe around that time I was this making sure of the shots, but eventually working with Sam, we started just clicking so well
Yeah.
that it was like, okay, I don't need to keep looking at the monitor and checking out. I could take your word on it. And he did well because obviously when you have a great photographer, also DP and this whole team to help you out, you could start putting a little more faith in them
Yeah.
and be able to just jump right into it. And that was really helpful because I have worked with people who are complete opposites, and it just kills so much time because
Yeah.
their ideas are different than yours. But this was just a great opportunity just to work with both of them and have that kind of sync that we all knew what a game plan is. We all knew how the shots were. And eventually I just said, hey, listen, I don't need to keep going at the monitor anymore. Let's just run it through it.
So you obviously done you've made films where you're the star in the film. We talked about the previous film. So you're in post production. How do you separate, like, because it's like you're looking at yourself, but it's not you. How do you kind of like separate you from the performance? Like, where like sometimes vanity gets involved, where like, oh, I don't like the way I look in this
Mm.
in this, like you, but you have to serve the story, right? It's not about
Yeah.
you, it's about the story.
I if you I mean listen, I mean there have been phenomenal before I mean because I do almost all the films I do I do some part of editing mainly right now I do almost all of it, but it's always character driven, story driven. You can have the greatest performance in the world, but if it makes no sense to the story, it just turns people off. I rather have less of my performance if it meant a better picture of a story, because I think if you have a greater story, people are more inclined to keep watching and be inclined to it
Yeah,
rather than having a great performance. Because even you have a great performance, there are, I mean, there are films that you and I know that are just, hey, good performance, but the movie or the story was just horrible. And that's just like, you know what it is? It's like your performance is like the main course. And you might have the greatest thing ever, the greatest performance ever, and you get to dessert and it's absolutely disgusting, and you leave that dinner just knowing that you had a bad experience. So, what I do is, hey, listen, I want to make both meals perfect, but if I had the choice, I will always pick the story first, so people could leave out on a high note, everything like that. So I mean, Nikki, our main star for that show, story, was absolutely phenomenal in regards to understanding that character. But also, I had to make sure because her performances were spectacular, all the shoots. So I had to make sure that we had that type of character dynamic when I was going through the editing process on that one. But yeah, it's not. I don't find it difficult. Putting when you're shooting and then you're starring in it and you got to go post production because I'm always character driven. And more importantly, of that is being story driven, so I can keep the story intact rather than just putting it about me. Because when you put it about yourself, it's just your ego goes so high that everything just gets destroyed in the process.
so I'm on her Instagram page. She's a badass,
Yeah,
right?
she's very scary.
Yeah. So in real world, she would she win the fight in the real world?
I think she was already winning that fight. Yeah. Yeah, she's a professional boxer. I mean,
Yeah,
if you ever see her highlights, that's one reason I picked her, because I was doing the casting for this and we were getting a
yeah,
lot of females doing it. And a lot of females did a great job. A lot of actresses were able to put that character into life. But
yeah,
what kind of drawn to me for Nikki was she was able to do that, but I needed to have that fighting fire that really a true
yeah.
fighter can only have. And especially you could see those moments in the scene and when we did in rehearsals and just trying to guiding her saying, I want that type of boxing match feeling. And she nailed it out of the park. I was probably the best accomplishment, I guess, for the whole story is just having Nikki on board. But yeah, I recommend just keep an eye on her. She's going places, and she she only hit me when we were doing the fight choreography. She only hit me in the liver, I think, 2 times, and that hurt.
Yeah.
But being a man, you gotta be like, oh yeah, I didn't hurt at all. But deep down, I was in tears. But I know, and all jokes aside, it was great. She was a go-getter. She didn't complain, and especially in the heat, especially covered in coconut oil, especially when there's bees around, and
Yeah, she's a
also,
professional.
yeah, a professional all the way.
So ask her if you ever talk to her, ask her if she like she should be a professional wrestler. I know it may sound crazy, but she has all the characteristics, acting, performance, choreography. She has the look. She could be like a superstar in the wrestling world.
Yeah, I mean, her real passion is just boxing. She loves doing it. I
That's
mean,
what I
if you would,
mean. But she's got that
oh yeah, definitely, 100%. I
yeah,
mean, she has the charm to play these kind of, originally because when I was looking at her reels and stuff, it was a lot of the type of girlfriend type of shots and everything like
yeah,
that. And I was just looking like, you know, when she played this performance, it just brought in this brand new life of like this woman can literally be this ultimate Fast and Furious fighter. She could be the next Vin Diesel, really, of being this killing all these people. But overall, because she's very athletic and to be able to do what she was able to do, um, very happy with that.
Yeah,
I mean, I wanted to make sure that I got that. One of the biggest shots I wanted to make sure was to have those shots in her eyes of that fierce ferocity
yeah.
when she was going and beating up this guy in the short that we're doing. So obviously, we did a lot of rehearsals prior to make sure that she kind of knew not only how to correctly fight, because obviously learning the fight is obviously different than stunt fighting because, I mean, you're just basic instinct to hit the person, but in stunt fighting, you don't do that. So
Yeah,
yeah, she was very adaptable, but I really get your point on wrestling. Anything with like any type
totally.
of weight training structure layout, but if you ever see some of her fights just online, and I think she has another one coming up, a fight coming up next year in November, which will be really great to see, and fingers crossed on her on that. So she's all into that type of style, and I'm very happy to have her on that short.
Well, wrestling's on. It's on Netflix now. I'm telling you, she has all the traits. And there's a lot of.
She,
I'm just talking from a manager financial standpoint. It's like there's a lot of money to be made too, right? And
oh
we
yeah,
we know The Rock, and what happens, and when you dabble into that world, right?
oh
So
yeah. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
the limits are off on her.
yeah,
And just the fact that she knows, I think of all things, she held her. I mean, obviously, naturally it's an athletic individual.
yeah.
She's an athlete. And to be able to put that character role as an actress on top of that, that's great because most athletes, with these amount of them, which we all know, are not really actors, actresses. They kind of just say the lines and move on. She,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
But
so
yeah, but
if you have her.
because 2/3 of the film she's performing in a close-up, right?
Yeah, that's the big thing on that. And that was the biggest concern I had for her when she came on board, to be honest. Because I mean, the fight choreography is great, but we needed to have that character-driven structure. And I was very happy that she was able to perform that instead of just kind of, glibbing the lines or just like any what athlete do. So you have a woman that is incredibly athletic, a person that is can be a boxer wrestler structure, which she is a boxer now, and you have the actress, and because she actually got nominated for best actress performance for that role.
Mhm.
So overall, yeah, it was when you're doing those type of shorts, you need to have another person just that is has the ability to hold his or her ground on that because it's just two people on that type of style, and you need to have that conflict. And if you have someone who's doing that work and the other one's kind of just moving around, it's the
Yeah.
same thing when you with just editing itself. Like I mentioned, like the bad taste of like you were mentioning earlier about editing. It's a difficult putting yourself in the editing process, and you have to be
Yeah.
character driven, or else the story crumbles. It's the same concept. I mean, you got to have an actress that is really good or enough to hold his or her ground, and if they don't, then everything just crumbles.
Of course.
Nikki
Yeah.
held it off, and
Well,
very happy.
the way this film is structured, the way the story is, like she's pouring her heart out
Yeah.
in a close-up. Like if she doesn't pull out that scene off, then the film doesn't work, right?
Oh
So
yeah, that's the bread and butter. That there. I mean, yeah, look, fight choreography is like kind of pulling you in,
yeah,
but the bread and butter is her performance at the midway point because
yeah,
without that, no one you can't really attach yourself to anything like that. But it was I was happy with it. It was a lot, it was a lot of work for into that. So, and a lot of nerve-wracking on my end because I'm producing that. So, you're putting a lot of faith in an individual. It's always just, can they portray that character that you wrote? Because, I wrote that script, I did everything, I wore all the hats. So, a lot of pressure happened on that moment. Thank heavens I wasn't in the scene during those close-ups. So, because I wouldn't
yeah,
be able to really focus it. But behind the scenes, watching it monitor wise, I was just like, okay, I can relax now.
yeah. Well, congratulations. Now, and personally, now you have a reel for your fight if you want to get into the fight game too, right? Like in the stunt game.
Yeah, but I think it's more benefit for her.
No, no, but I'm saying, but you have a reel, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did fight choreography lessons already. I
Yeah,
just didn't have the opportunity to film one for a feature or for a short film for that
yeah,
structure. It's fun. I love doing it. It's always great to have it. I always recommend any actor or actress at least to have one clip of them doing
yeah.
fight choreography. I think my one advice to anyone who does that is make sure you know how to edit correctly of the punches, the movements, because if you don't, it turns people off.
Of course,
And
yeah.
people will not jump into it. Like
I've
that
seen
fight
those
choreography.
films.
Yeah, how every punch, like everything from the punches to the movement, all they had to do in post production, all of them I had to spend hundreds of hours of just breaking that down. What type of punch of it, looking for the volume. If I can't find it online, then I have to recreate it. So I had to wear all the hats. But if you do it right, it's a great thing to have on your reel, and I'm very happy with it too.
So, and I wanted to finish off. I wanted to mention that the makeup, the doing the blood and all that, like you said, you used coconut oil, whatever. It's just very realistic as well.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I
you have
didn't
the
want to put
wound
it
in
too
your
much.
stomach.
Yeah, I
Perfectly done makeup job, and then your sound design is pretty spectacular as well. So
I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's interesting. You spend maybe the shoot and then you go to post production and it's like 20 times longer to work. But again, that's where all the magic happens. I mean, that's really it from lighting, coloring, sound. And I do it myself and I'm very happy with it.
you did the sound
And
design yourself?
yep, did all
Wow.
that. Well, yeah, it's a lot of work. That's the one thing I hate about post production sound. It's
Why
like the
don't you?
one
Yeah,
thing
you
where
should like. I think that I suggest that you should just like find somebody, like
it's
find
interesting
a
to say
good
that
team.
because if I didn't do sound, there were some things that I wouldn't put in those shorts in the film aftermath. Like there was like a sound effect of gates closing or
Yeah.
the sound effects of people speaking in the background, a microphone. I didn't put those in the script. Those were not written. Those were when I was doing the editing and I was looking at, okay, well maybe there's something here. And then what
Yeah.
is that? Maybe we could do a voiceover structure. So you
But you know
gotta
how you're talking about your cinematographer and like how
no,
he's
no, this is
writing
in
for the
post production.
film.
This
Sound
is
designer
all
will do the same thing. Like he's going to
yeah.
take your notes and your ideas because you're editing the film, but he's going to take it and I'm not saying that your sound design isn't bad. I'm just saying that
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you
got
move up in the world because you're a very
you.
famous filmmaker, you got to
Yes.
find your team, and
Yeah.
that's a key element of your team.
Yeah. Sound is it's the most annoying part of it, but it's also the most impactful, ironically.
100%. That's what I'm saying, right? So like that's sort of my point. Like he's your DP of post production, right? So
Yeah, 100%.
he or she, I should say. I'm like, look at me. I'm already like getting in trouble in 2025.
All right. Well, you just started. Better end it now.
Yeah. No. But fantastic job. Like you're a very talented individual. Like you're acting, you're directing. It's just like you got like I don't know like a triple threat or a quadruple threat. So
I mean, this industry, you can't just be, I mean, you just can't be an actor. You can't
no,
just be an actress. I mean, actor and actress is like a dime a dozen. It's the supply of it is so huge. I mean, you
yeah,
just say, hey, oh, I'm making it short. You're gonna get 50, you're gonna get 100 applicants. You have to adapt in this industry and you need to provide something more than just, oh, I could be an actor. Because yeah, everyone could be, I'm not saying, acting, if you do the work and you learn actually how to do it, it's a very important aspect, but it's just the supply of it is so high. So you have to say, okay, you can't just say I'm an actor. Okay, what else can you do? And that's where all these steps come in. This is where I do pre-production, assembling all that, post-production, all that. So yeah, in this industry, that's what I do, and I'm very happy with it. And I'm hoping to make more. I just finished shooting up another short in December, like 3 weeks ago. I'm actually currently about to start editing on that,
yeah,
and that's actually a romantic comedy. So that is something out of my comfort range.
yeah.
But it was like, you know what? Why not try it and see what happens? Try to throw something
Wow.
out there.
All right.
Success.
So action, sci-fi, like parody comedy. Now you're doing romance.
Yep.
Checking off all the boxes, right?
Yeah. Check them all off and see which one bites.
Yeah, I guess next is horror or western. So
Yeah, I ironically I finished the first draft of a Western, but it's a full feature. I can't find one for short. But yeah, it's like, because creativity hits and you're probably in the same position. You get eventually you do one thing, you kind of get tired, like, let me try something different and see what happens. But yeah, this romantic comedy, yeah, when I'm done, I'll hopefully submit it again to you guys, and
yeah.
see what you guys think about it. If you don't like it, I advise you just don't say anything.
Well, we'll be calling you for the live festival for when we do the action festival. We'll want to put this film in for our action festival if that's good with you.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love it. I'll let Nikki know. She'll be really ecstatic as well. And yeah, overall, you guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate you guys kind of supporting independent filmmakers in that type of stuff, especially in a world where, you got to know someone
Yeah.
who has money. So I really appreciate you guys putting that emphasis on, regardless of where people are around the world, everyone has a view or an idea, and we want to bring it out to show people. So, hats off to you guys for that. I want to give you guys
Hats
a
off to you for keep making me good films. I'm sure we'll talk again later on this year when your next films are made. So I wish you the best of luck with your success.
yeah. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
All right, talk soon.